What's going on, guys? Dan with Right Now Powder Coating, and I am going to go over the most simple thing that you can do in your shop to improve your powder coating game. You can do it today, under $50. It's going to make life easy. Let's get into it. All right, this is a horse that has been beaten to death. And if you're with PETA, I'm sorry, I don't really mean that. I would never beat a horse to death. So, grounding. It is so easy to do, but I get a million questions about this all the time. And the best way to explain all this to you guys is going to be to show you my ground. So we're going to look at it right now. All right, there's my ground. It's a copper rod that I bought from the local home improvement store. I like Menards here in the Midwest. There's Lowe's would be my second choice. A lot of you guys have like Home Depots, but if you go to the electrical aisle, usually you will be able to find a grounding rod. This is an 8-foot rod. We have drilled through our concrete with a hammer drill and a bit, and we have put it, just hammered the thing down, which wasn't easy because this building is built on top of old buildings and bricks and all this stuff, so we're hitting stuff. But anyways, then go get yourself some nice clamps and some wire. The bigger the wire you can get, the better, because it's going to have less resistance, but it doesn't have to be super fat. This is actually ground wire that was left over from a project when I used to sell equipment. And this is like an 8-gauge wire that we just happen to have laying around. So the first thing you're going to do is drill your hole. You're going to beat that thing down in there, and you're going to clamp on your ground. See, it's still loose. I like to drill the hole a little bit bigger if you live in a dry area, or if your grounding rod is in the middle of your shop. You're going to want to water it. No, it's not going to grow, but by keeping the ground wet, it helps the resistance of that ground do whatever. I'm not a mathematician here. That's an inside joke here at the shop. But with the ground wet, you get a better ground than if the ground was to be dry. So we will actually use like water bottles we find laying around the shop. We'll pour it down the hole, especially in the winter time when it's really dry, or if we're going through a dry spell in the summer. So anyways, this wire here is what we actually use to ground out our part. It goes into the booth and we put it into our cart. Now, most of your powder coating guns are going to have a ground wire on the back of them. So on this one, the ground wire is there, it's attached to a wire here, and then we actually have it attached to the booth, which we have grounded out here. So the booth is grounded. You can't see my hand. The gun is grounded to the booth, which is then grounded through the rod, and then the part is grounded through the rod. This makes sure that your control units are all safe, your booth is safe, so if you have any electrostatic jumps or shocks or anything like that, we're not blowing up powder or anything like that. So you should always ground your booth, your gun, your part, and that's when you'll be the safest. Now, we get a ton of questions about how we ground our carts, because in a lot of our videos we don't show you show us putting the ground in, but all of our carts are open square tubing. We actually shove it in there because your powder's not getting into the cart. So we shove the wire in there. It's got the metal just hanging out. Yes, we could put a clamp on it and try and clamp it, but we're going to have to keep that clean. So we shove it in. We usually have zero issues. If we were like, say we had a part hanging on this bar and we were having little sparks, meaning we're not getting a good ground, we could actually take that wire and shove it into this tube and it would ground it out. The reason I like to have square tubing with holes in it is we can put our clean hooks in there, and the chances of you getting a ton of powder buildup in there is very small, just because that's a huge Faraday area. Plus, you're hanging your part down, so you're spraying down here instead of up here. If you have the small tubing where you're hanging your hook over the tube, you get all this powder buildup on the part. I've seen guys do foil. The thing with foil that scares me is that when you take, well, one, the foil can move and crap can fall off the foil, and I don't know, it's just a mess. So we don't mess with it. We wait till it builds up, and then we take our aggression out and hit it with a hammer and break it all off, or sometimes it falls off like that. So that's how we ground out our carts. Forgive my booth. My motor went out today. We had to spray stuff. There's powder everywhere, and people like to ride on walls. So this is our wire for our cart. We try to keep this clean. It's very dirty right now because it's been set on the floor. So we'll either blow this off or we'll cut it back and get some fresh metal sticking out. And then we always V it out there so that when it goes in the cart, we get a good ground. Now, we've got our line going now, which also needs to be grounded. A lot of the shops that I went into back when we sold equipment, or when I did for GEMA and stuff, this was probably their biggest issues, is they weren't getting parts grounded on their line. The number one issue is probably the hooks that they were using. These have only been used 2 days, but we swap them out every 2 to 3 days just to keep that bottom half fresh. As you can see, there's not a lot of powder up at the top, but then as you get down here, there's more powder, and I'll kind of show you why that is. But we have another ground with a wire, another 8-gauge wire that just runs right up to the back. This is actually the burner box of the oven that's grounding out that, but everything is welded together inside the oven, so the ground is all attached. Now, yes, we could do a better job, and maybe we will one day, but we haven't had any issues. We could actually put a ground somewhere here by our booth, and then we could ground the rail, which would give us a really good ground because it's right near where everything's going through. But we've got these little shields here, and the parts go through here, and that's why this is so clean, because we're keeping the powder from going into the rail. So obviously the bottom of the hooks, there's another hook that'll hang here with a part on it as it goes through the booth. This is our electron gun. Again, we've got our ground here, and then we've got the ground on the bottom that we attach to the booth, which is attached to the oven, which is attached to the rail, which is all grounded. So clamp that thing on. We've got our control unit grounded. Everything's grounded. We're happy. All right, so hopefully that is enough information for you guys to get better grounding. If you do not have the ability to hammer that rod through your floor, you may want to see if you can go outside your building and do it outside, because maybe you're renting your shop and they won't let you put a hole in your floor, or maybe it's your home garage and you don't want to put a hole in your floor. Go outside, put one down outside. You're still going to drill a hole in the building, but run a wire in. So it doesn't matter if it's outside or inside. The closer you can get it to what you're doing, the better. You'll have just better results, less resistance. The shorter your wires are, the shorter distance to your ground, all that kind of stuff. And again, I'm not an electrician, so if I said something wrong about all that, I know someone's going to find something. I apologize, but I'm just trying to help you guys who are working at home or have a small shop and are having troubles figuring out your ground. So any questions, let me know. Check out our notes below. We are selling electron powder coating guns now. They are fantastic. We love them. We use them every day. Best gun on the market for your money, hands down. Check out my memberships on YouTube, on Patreon. We do consultations for you guys that need a little help learning your powder or have a ton of questions and want to jump through some hoops a little bit quicker. $75 for a half hour at the time of this recording. We also do on-site consultations, which are a very, very expensive way, but we save you a lot of time. But anyways, I'm going to get out of here. I always say short video, and they always go on forever because I like to talk and ramble because I love powder coating. So we will catch you guys on the next one. Go out and paint something. See you later.